This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, interesting news.
Yeah, bring it on.
Out of Charlotte. I say Charlotte because that's where the Los Angeles Chargers have been working this week. And according to multiple reports out there, not only was Justin Herbert limited on Thursday, we haven't gotten the practice report yet for today.
A very vague word.
Yes, he was extremely or very limited in yesterday's practice, and that was Thursday. He didn't practice at all on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That ankle injury that he suffered in Sunday's game against the Carolina Panthers. Apparently more severe than what Jim Harbaugh was letting on.
So maybe he's highly questionable for this week, or questionable period, or game time decision.
Game time decision.
Screams game time decision as a coaching move. You know, like, let's not divulge it all yet. But
yeah, we don't want the Steelers to know that we might be running Easton Stick or
Heineke.
Taylor Heineke out there.
Just traded for a couple weeks ago, and neither of whom is very good.
Yeah.
Massive difference, of course. And Herbert hasn't played great, but just the way you play defense would change so dramatically if he's in and out of the field.
Monumental.
Yeah.
Because Herbert has struggled this year. He hasn't looked,
he hasn't
looked
great.
great.
Right.
He missed all the preseason, but their receivers aren't good.
No.
This is what when people were saying that the Steelers receiver room was the worst in football.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you need to take a look around the league a little bit and tell me the Chargers would kill for George Pickens.
Oh, yeah.
The Patriots would kill for George Pickens.
That was bad last night, too.
The Bills would kill for George Pickens.
Yeah, the value of just him alone is pretty extreme.
Yeah, it lifts that whole that entire room to above those groups, and there's probably some other ones out there, like Denver.
Yeah.
Denver's receiver room isn't good.
Fine, he's okay.
Yeah.
You know, right.
But Pickens is better.
Of course. And as you were saying that, I was sitting there thinking, Pickens' style of play and just sheer talent makes Stick or Heineke's
He's
life
an area thrower.
so much easier.
You put the ball in his area, and he will make you look good.
Where Herbert makes his receivers look good. You know
which
what I
is
mean?
what they need right now. Yeah.
Right, exactly. You know, they're not great separators. They're not go up and get it guys. You know, that they're going to be functions of what the quarterback does for them as opposed to the other way around.
They need an elevator.
Yeah.
They're not the elevators.
Exactly. So that's a rough situation.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, best case scenario for the Chargers is he plays. But he's going to be hurting.
He's going to be severely compromised if he does play. The mobility that he has shown over the course of his career, he's not going to have that.
He's very mobile, too.
Yeah.
Like they'll even design runs for him.
If you're Harbaugh, do you look at the big picture here and say,
yes,
I'm not putting him out there against this defense
in
their building?
I would, if it's a tie, I would say, Justin, you're too important. It's a long season on the road against this defense. No.
And again, as I said earlier in the week, it also severely limits how you run the football.
Big time.
If he is compromised in terms of his movement, any of that outside stretch stuff is gone. Remember, think of Peyton Manning at the end of his career, how often he struggled to get those long handoffs out there.
Yeah, you got to be really quick, and you got to get out of your stance very quickly, and it's easy to fumble a snap, just being
trying to get out too quick.
Right. And getting out to the perimeter, you have to be a pretty good athlete.
And if you think of all J.K. Dobbins' long runs this year, majority it's been around end.
It has been. I think they want to run behind those tackles. That's just quickly becoming the strength of the team, which is exactly what they want. But that part's not great for them, let alone the throwing and the base. And Herbert hasn't been crisp to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know which ankle it is either, whether it's his plant ankle or it's his front ankle.
And I don't know what the foot was. Is it the same one, or is it the opposite one? Or can you count on neither one right now?
Right.
Or are they both bugging you? Or is one whole leg really a mess right now? I don't know that part.
And as we saw in week 1 with the Falcons, are they going to have to go shotgun 100% of the time?
Okay.
And that's not really Harbaugh's offense.
Then play action game might not be as good off of it.
Yeah.
And all those things, running angles, things of that nature. So, yeah, I think this is a real big deal. Even if he still plays.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're probably not going to get the best. You're not going to get the best version of no matter what, you're not going to get the best version of the quarterback room for the Chargers organization.
If it's Easton Stick, he has started 4 games in his career. Now
How's that gone?
They were all last year.
Yeah.
In 2023, he went 0-4. He had 3 touchdown passes and 1 interception.
But you don't trade for Heineke if you love Stick.
No,
right. I mean, that's the reason that deal happened.
Nobody says I love Stick. They love Lamp. They love things like that, but they don't love Stick.
No, and Harbaugh obviously was not happy with his backup situation.
Or he could just be a 3-quarterback guy too.
True. There was nobody else.
Around.
There.
Yeah.
But Heineke at least has been around the block a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Stick has at this point too, but he's not as experienced as Heineke.
No, and Heineke. Little aside story. If it is Taylor Heineke this week, maybe the Steelers will want to start Christian Kuntz and let him rush the passer a little bit because Christian Kuntz first game at Duquesne as a freshman.
Yeah,
they're playing James Madison,
and he wasn't just a long snapper then.
No, wasn't. He was an outside linebacker.
Yeah,
in fact, he's the all-time leading sacker in Duquesne program history.
Right.
The long snapping didn't come around until later. His first game, he gets thrust into action as a true freshman because they had some injuries ahead of him. He goes in and intercepts Taylor Heineke on a pass rush, jumps up and bats the ball down, catches it himself and returns it for a touchdown.
Nice.
Against Taylor Heineke, who's still in the league.
Mm-hmm. How about that? Yeah, you're Steelers long snapper, taking it to the house.
But even at that, Heineke's started 24 career games.
Has he? How old is he?
He is now 31.
30-ish. Okay, yeah.
So,
I mean, it's something. I mean, I think there's something to, as Coach Tomlin says, being in stadiums and all that stuff. But he's a very limited athlete player. I mean, he's just not very talented.
It would be like if the Steelers had to start Kyle Allen this week.
Yeah, I would say that's the same neighborhood.
They're similar style, like similar quarterbacks.
Right.
If Kyle Allen were starting this game this week for the Steelers, we would certainly be picking the Chargers to win this game.
100%. And no matter if it's a non-Herbert starter in this game, I'm definitely taking the Steelers.
With that,
you know what I mean? Right.
We talked about it all week long. The one area on offense where they have a big advantage in terms of the people who touch the football is at quarterback.
Without question. To me, that's their biggest advantage in the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's their wild card. That's their trump card, because he's capable of being great.
Yeah. And if they don't have that,
or
what
if
do
they
you
have
got?
half of that.
Yeah. Or half of that. Or it's somehow compromised. Now all you have is your offensive line.
And even if he's playing well or if he plays at all, there's got to be a good chance somebody falls on that thing.
That's the thing.
You know what I mean? Like there's going to be people considering this pass rush in any NFL game, but there's going to be people diving at him near his feet and rolling, down, hitting him low and,
It's the same reason why the Steelers aren't playing Russell Wilson right now. Russell Wilson could play.
Yes.
If this were a playoff game and he had to play, he would play.
Mm-hmm.
But the Steelers are slow playing this because it's a long season.
Yeah. And you'd much rather roll with Fields than Heineke or Stick.
Without a doubt.
Obviously.
Without a doubt,
and you've game planned around that for a couple weeks, and you're in a flow with that at least, where this one's going to be like, all right, even with those guys, like, there's past concepts you just wouldn't even call.
Yeah.
I mean, Herbert's got such a big arm. I mean, deep outs and comebacks and arm strength throws
that you can't
might
step
be
into,
off the table,
Yeah.
Maybe even for him still, but I'm thinking if he's out.
Yeah. Well, it's Greg Roman's is the offensive coordinator. Think to that Ravens offense when we had Montravius Adams on yesterday. He's like, yes, it looked very similar to what Baltimore did.
Certainly with less quarterback
mobility.
Rushing attempts.
Yeah.
And now way more mobility. I mean, like, They do like to get Herbert on the move. And, he's very good at it. Rollouts, things like that. And he can certainly run. But I mean, I would play a lot more man, without question. I mean, if he's not going to tuck it and run, if I'm turning my back to him,
right?
I mean,
which is what hurt them the last time they played against him.
Mm-hmm.
They're playing man defense, and everybody's down the field, and he just there's an
10
opening,
yards.
and I'm going to go.
There's 15 yards, right? I mean,
now you're
wide
telling
open.
the pass rushers,
go
after him.
Yeah. So, no, this is good news for the Steelers' chances of win. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
That's big news, though.
Huge.
I mean, it doesn't seem like I hadn't heard of it until just now, really. It doesn't seem like everyone's on top of this.
Yeah. So, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we'll have to watch him in warm-ups. Just keep an eye on that. Maybe, again, we don't have the injury list just yet, but
I'd be shocked if he's ruled out on Friday or something like that.
I would be shocked if he practiced in full today, based on what the reports were out of Charlotte yesterday.
Yeah, I would doubt he's he's back, he's fine, don't worry about it. It's just precautionary. It
Nothing
sounds like it's a lot
here.
worse than that. Yeah.
Because really, you can't fudge that kind of stuff, especially with a quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to see it.
Yeah.
And why is he not out there? Or why is he hardly doing anything? I mean, he's standing there not moving his feet, throwing a football. Well, that's not football.
No.
Right.
I mean, think about how people have talked about the Russell Wilson when he's gone out there before games to warm up. Let me just talk about that real quick, too.
All right, go.
While we're on the subject here. Because I've tweeted out 2 weeks ago in Atlanta the photo or the video of Russell Wilson out throwing on the field and stuff before, and he again comes out for the game in full uniform, and he's in uniform, and people are ripping him, A, for warming up, and B, for being in uniform.
Right.
Like this is a bad thing. He's the third quarterback. He's the emergency quarterback.
There's a chance he might play.
Mason Rudolph last year when he was serving as the Steelers' third quarterback. Kenny Pickett when he was the number 3. Mitch Trubisky when he was the number 3. They warm up, and they're in uniform on the sideline because they might have to play.
It's like a backup goalie. He doesn't put his pads on whenever they decide to put him in the game.
No.
Wait, hold on a second. Let me go change.
We need a quarterback. Wait, he's back. He's putting in the locker room, putting his pads on. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work that way.
Come on, people. I know there are people out there who just hate on Russell Wilson because they hate Russell Wilson for whatever reason.
Sure.
And they pick out the stupidest things to pick on like that.
That it is. I mean, if you want to give him a hard time for having his helmet on while he's on the sidelines, feel free, but
I don't even have a problem with that because he's got the speaker in his helmet. He's listening to the play call.
Right. There's a reason for that, too.
I mean, come on.
Yes.
I mean, watch every third quarter. Every emergency quarterback in the league is in full uniform on Sunday.
They're usually not a future Hall of Fame potential type guy. Right. No one's paying attention to them. It's Allen or it's
you just
Heineke,
don't see them because the camera's not going to them.
Because nobody cares about them.
Sometimes I can't believe the hate that the guy gets.
What did he do? Right.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I get it. If you don't like him, that's fine. That's your opinion. You don't have to like him.
I'm sure Denver fans aren't thrilled about the whole situation either.
But he did nothing wrong.
Right.
And he didn't ask Denver to cut him last year either.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys come out and warm up that are injured or, at all positions. I mean, it's another chance to try your calf or your ankle or whatever, A lot of dudes that don't play shower after they're done,
Yeah, because they're out there. It's another day to get loose.
Better. To get better and try it out. All right.
So
that's not uncommon.
That drove me nuts last week. Again, I put it out there last week, and people complaining about it. Why does he have his helmet on? Why is he in uniform? Because he's the third quarterback.
Because he might play.
Yeah.
He might play. It's like the backup goalie. It sits in that weird spot.
Yeah.
You can't just throw your pads on,
right? Anyway, what were we talking about before that?
Herbert before that.
Oh, yeah, but
injured quarterbacks and whatnot.
Yeah, it bears watching.
It does. I honestly don't have a great scouting report on Stick or Heineke. I don't know what their strengths are. I know neither one is overly talented. Neither is very accomplished. They're going to be lifetime backups. They'll retire as multimillionaires and probably last in a long time, and that in itself has value. I mean, that's a hard thing to do for any football player, but no one's ever thought either one has any chance to really become a starter.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like there was
except for Ron Rivera with Heineke.
Oh, was he big on? Yeah, I guess so.
You see how that worked out for Ron.
Yeah. But neither was drafted in the third round with all this promise. Maybe Willis turns into a starter or project type guy.
Yeah.
No.
No, that was not the case with either one of those guys. So we'll see. I mean, again, if I'm looking at this as Jim Harbaugh, I'm like, you can't get into a situation where you put your quarterback out there, your franchise quarterback, a guy you're paying a lot of money, at less.
He's the most important guy in the organization.
Well, yeah, without a doubt.
Right.
You can't put him out there in a situation where he can't protect himself.
That's a huge king too. That's the Kirk Cousins thing I was mentioning, and to me, Bryce Young's almost to that part, even though he's healthy. he's so
he
in
needs
his
a
head
reset.
and
Yeah.
he needs a reset. Can't protect himself. That's tough on a quarterback, and that maybe that's what Wilson's situation is. If he can't shuffle and get out of the way, and protecting yourself in the pocket is a big deal, or on the field in general. That's a great way of looking at it. If he doesn't play, or again, if it's pretty clear that he's not the same player, I bet Harbaugh fake punt. I mean, like get
something crazy
with something like that. I would be on high alert for not even a trick play, but like something unorthodox to try to steal a possession.
Yeah, I would definitely be on watch for something like that.
Maybe they're calling 6-man pressures or covers zero. We need to make a play on defense. We got to steal possession somehow to win this game.
Absolutely.
I would definitely change the way I look at it as opposed to we're going to meet a 50-yard line and just start, bare knuckle fight. We're just going to see who's standing. I think that's the mentality now. But if we don't have our best guy, it's like, ooh.
Now you're in desperation.
Now I need to try something goofy.
Yeah. Now you got to start throwing haymakers.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not the boxing match. This is just go out there and try to knock the other guy out.
Swing as hard as I can. If I land one, we're in this thing. If not, oh well. We didn't have a chance anyway.
Absolutely. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. When we return, we'll be joined by Missy Matthews, the sideline reporter for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we'll get her take on what's going on with Justin Herbert and everything else that's going on in Steeler land right now.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're joined on the phone line here by Steelers sideline reporter Missy Matthews. How you doing, Missy?
Hey, guys. I'm great. Home opener, just a few days away. It's nice to not have to pack a suitcase today.
I love it.
I'm right there with you. And by the way, happy, I guess it's the anniversary of the first Steelers football game today.
Ever?
In 1933. I just see it here on the Inns chat.
Oh, wow.
September 20th, 1933, the Pittsburgh Pirates, which would then become the Steelers, played their first ever game. That's actually redundant, first ever, against the New York Giants. At the time, the Steelers joined the Eastern Division and were one of only 10 teams in the NFL. How about that?
That's
very cool.
There you go. So September 20th has a little meaning in Steelers history. And Missy, this weekend could have some meaning for the Steelers and their history as they try to get to 3-0.
Well, yeah, not only that, because clearly that's moving in the right direction when other teams, especially in your own division, are not moving in that direction. Build that lead, what the end of your season looks like. But losing their last 3 home openers, which doesn't seem possible, and you go back and look at those games, you're like, oh, yeah. The good thing, though, is they've never lost 4 straight home openers. So you're hoping that they can right the ship on that one.
Yeah, and after winning the first 2 games on the road, you certainly don't want to come home and drop one.
No.
That's the other part of that equation. Yeah. It kind of would give away all the good work that you've done in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and especially, you didn't have the quarterback that you thought was going to be starting. There have been some moving parts, but knock on wood, most people have stayed healthy. But like you said, and going to Denver, that wasn't like you were just going to Baltimore or somewhere nearby.
Yeah, it's been a house of horrors out there in many ways.
Right, yeah. So I think, like you said, just to do it back-to-back to kick off your season, that's good. I know one of the NFL research packets said something of 14 of the 15 last teams to open the season with back-to-back road wins reach the playoffs. Everything that you read from these early games, and if the Steelers start 3-0 under Tomlin, they've made the playoffs 3 various times. So you don't want to break the momentum. I know we can go back to 2020 and remember when they were 11-0 and then the world came crashing down, but I just feel like they have some more cohesion on all sides of the ball this year.
Yeah, and 2020 was such a weird year, too. I mean,
Bizarre.
COVID, there was nobody in the stadiums. It was just such a strange season.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, was it the Ravens game or the Commanders game was switched like 3 times?
It was the Ravens game, and then the Commanders game got moved because of the Ravens game getting moved, which is just bizarre in itself.
Yeah. Right. One was like a Wednesday night, and then I think one was like
They pushed it to
5 o'clock on Monday something.
Yeah. I've tried to push all that out of my memory because it was just such
insane time.
Yeah, just crazy.
Know it in the stands and all that insanity.
Yeah.
Speaking
we
of the
don't need to go
stands,
back there, but I will take the 3-0 start.
And speaking of the stands, though, I think this is going to be one of the most wound up in recent memory. I mean, the weather's going to be awesome. They're undefeated. There's a lot of change around the team. I would think Steeler Nation's going to be tailgating starting now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's crazy how nice the weather is. I mean, it was beautiful in Denver, which I also thought was weird, but perfect for a 1 o'clock home opener. Like you said, the tailgating is probably going to start before the lots open, knowing Steelers fans and people in Pittsburgh. But I agree. I think just the excitement around them. I know a few of us have been like tossing around, like, do you introduce the offense or do you do the defense? Like, give TJ Watt like some more ammo, do you go get that 1.5 sack to hit 100, or do you let the offense feel some love because they've been doing good things? I think it'll be interesting to see, but yeah, this is definitely one of the more highly anticipated home openers that I can remember.
It seems that way. Yeah.
Missy, reports out of training or out of practice today that Troy Fautanu tweaked that knee, and it looks like Broderick Jones could be in the starting lineup again this week. You were on the sideline last week. How did he react on the sideline after getting pulled and having, obviously the 3 penalties like that? What was his demeanor like after that? Did you see?
Yeah, I did. Obviously, I don't think he was happy with himself. He wasn't happy that he found out, hey, you're not going back in. There's no more rotation. He kind of came over by himself. He slammed his helmet on one of the equipment cases that's kind of behind there. Not like anything crazy. He didn't throw a Gatorade cooler. This was not like an Antonio Brown thing. Let me preface. But he just kind of sat there with his head in his hands. Isaac Seumalo came over to him, a few different people, and he kind of regrouped himself. It's almost, I was kind of using this analogy, when my 6-year-old is going crazy, I'm like, can you just take a deep breath for a second and then we can, handle these big feelings you're having? And it was almost like he did that. And before the Steelers defense from that next drive was even off the field, he was over by the wide receivers. He sought out George Pickens, kind of did the like, hey, that's on me, pounded his chest, dapped him up, and he walked away. And he was a good teammate moving forward. He didn't sit there and take unnecessary attention away from the guys that were playing. People weren't having to baby him or try to help him. He kind of did that on his own.
That's a great sign. Is it pretty obvious? I mean, I think I know the answer. I've been to camp and all those things, but Isaac Seumalo's a real leader on this offense and certainly amongst the offensive linemen, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think he doesn't say a lot, but his actions speak louder, not to use, that phrase, but I think with him, it's very true. And I couldn't hear what he said to Broderick, but it was very quick. He kind of kneeled down, so he was eye level with him, and then just kind of gave him a slap on the back and, moved away. But he's definitely very instrumental. Obviously, you want him out on the field because of the type of player he is. But in terms of especially helping the young guys, I think he's very clutch.
Yeah, and as you said, he doesn't say a lot, but when he does speak, guys take notice. It's one of those things. I can remember talking one time with Antonio Brown when I hosted the AB show with him, and he mentioned that Heath Miller had pulled him aside like that one time, and he's like, when Heath talks, you listen. No, that doesn't mean Antonio necessarily did, but
maybe that day.
But he said, he's a guy that doesn't say a lot. So when he does say something to you, you pay attention to it a little bit more than you would somebody who's talking all the time. And Seumalo's that kind of guy, I think, especially with that offensive line.
Mm-hmm. Young group too.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they are so young. And, Broderick is still young. I understand it's his second year, but even if you look, Troy, the amount of starts he had in college compared to Broderick, just they're really trying to start gelling. They've clearly decided, hey, we are investing in the line of scrimmage, specifically in this offensive line. It just feels like for years we were all spoiled of the Marquise Pounceys, the Castros, Ramon Fosters, even Al. you just knew you had a solid group. You know, you could go to Buffalo and Le'Veon could run for 200 plus yards in the snow, and it was like no big deal. We're running the same play. And then once all of those guys started to retire and, you know, move on, things got a little hairy, and it just seemed like the combinations weren't working as well. And it finally feels like we're getting back to that. But losing Isaac, I think, you know, the good thing is that he was not put on IR. So who knows what, you know, when we will see him. But I think, you know, the fact that he went to Denver, he was with them, that tells me that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think it'll be sooner rather than later, to your point, because they didn't put him on IR.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Back to Broderick real quick. I mean, if his first stint going on the field wasn't such a disaster, do you think that would have been a consistent rotation at right tackle?
You know, I thought when I had kind of figured out and heard what they were doing, I was like, but, you know, when Coach Tomlin was explaining it in more detail on Tuesday, not necessarily after the game, of, you know, it's not a problem when both guys are capable. And then you do think like, okay, you were playing in Denver. He knew Troy was healthy. He was clean. He was cleared medically, but it is, you know, will he condition-wise be able to handle it? I mean, trust me, when I interviewed TJ Watt on the field after the game, he was still huffing and puffing and talked about, you know, how great it was to get the win and dealing with the altitude and everything, not just the Broncos and what they were presenting. Did
you really think the altitude was a big deal to them? I thought that it was late in the game. Denver, the inferior team, was making it more interesting than they should because of conditioning, altitude, you know, where they were playing.
Yeah, in the first half, I was just kind of looking, and honestly, it was like Cam Hayward, who has asthma, and who said he would need the oxygen. It wasn't noticeable, but definitely in the second half, more and more guys. I think, you know, why not? If it can help you, and it's literally sitting behind you, and they just give it to you right there with that mask. So I don't think it was, you know, a huge thing they had to deal with. I think they were just trying to be very smart and making sure guys were hydrated and able to deal with it in terms of their bodies.
Well, our guest has been Missy Matthews, Steelers sideline reporter. You can listen to her on the broadcast on, these very airwaves on wherever you listen to your game at. You'll hear Missy with the guys on there. Missy, looking forward to the game this weekend. We'll listen to you on the call. Hope you have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll see you on Sunday.
Sounds good, Missy. Right. That was Missy Matthews, Steelers sideline reporter. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network. Of course, you can listen to The Drive every weekday from 4 to 6 p.m. We are on live, and we also you can download the Steelers mobile app and listen to the show on there in rebroadcast. You can also watch us on YouTube and all that good stuff. We really recommend that you do one of those things. Actually, do them all.
Yeah,
watch it again.
Somebody do them both.
Yeah,
because somebody's doing something as we speak. Spread the word. Yeah. Hit that subscribe button too.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're going to get to a break. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. There's only one. And Matt, we had a game last night.
We did.
Week 3 kicked off, and I thought it would be a low-scoring game. It was a low-scoring game on one side of the ledger as the Jets beat the Patriots 24-3. Do you view that as the Jets being back? Aaron Rodgers threw for 281 yards and 2 touchdowns. They also ran for 133 yards. Or was that a Patriots team that just not very talented and a short week?
A couple things, and a lot of both, to be honest with you. I mean, I tweeted out in the third quarter, so here's the Patriot team we all expected in the offseason. And that's exactly what they looked like, especially on offense. The offensive line is really, really bad.
Give up 7 sacks in that game.
Yeah, and even like blitz pickup and some fundamental stuff, let alone just not being very talented up front.
Once again, 61 yards passing.
Brutal. And there was garbage time involved with the first-round pick. And just looking at the Patriots, like they are massively overmatched, and that's what we thought they would be going into the season. Now, they were only losing 14-3 at the half.
Yeah.
And their obvious formula was running the football, shortening the game the first 2 weeks, and that reasonably worked well. But Ramondre Stevenson ended up with like 6 or 7 carries.
He had 6
only.
carries for 23 yards.
I mean,
they couldn't sustain anything because they couldn't throw it.
True, but I thought you at least could stick with your formula. And I want to run one thing by you before we talk about the Jets. Is these coaching staffs that are new, their first Thursday night game, I think I'm betting against them every time.
It's tough.
Yeah, especially
like that
on the
short
road.
Work week,
They've never done it. I mean, people don't think about that stuff. Like, sure, you've been on staffs, but you haven't been in charge of the preparation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a much different deal. And I'm going to pay attention to that going forward, that new staffs on Thursday night, especially on the road, especially early in the season.
Not only a new staff, Matt, but it's a new staff, a new quarterback.
That too, right.
Brissett wasn't their quarterback last year. And that offensive line,
mismatch. I mean,
it was a mismatch in that respect.
Yeah.
But I'm with you on the short week with new staffs, and especially when you add a new quarterback into the equation.
Or even if you played on Monday night the week before, new staff. Just not a normal work week. Short work week.
And it's something that Bob Labriola brought up to us a few years ago in regards to the Bengals.
Yes.
Or was it
the Browns.
It was the Browns.
Because they were on primetime like 5 times.
Yeah.
They were the most.
All of a sudden you go from being a team that nobody's paying any attention to now you're a team that's in primetime all the time, and it changes your preparation week a great deal.
A Monday night game, you come home at, 4 in the morning or something like that. I mean, and that's with police escorts and a private jet and the easiest travel you could possibly have.
So now you got one fewer day to prepare. Mm-hmm. Even if Tuesday's your off day for the players, it's not for the the coaching staff.
Coaching staff's exhausted all week.
Yeah.
I mean, they're scrambling behind. They still work. The same amount of job needs done. You just don't have the capability to do it.
I mean, I know for a fact that some of the Steelers assistant coaches, when they've played on the West Coast in the past, have been watching the next week's game tape on the flight home.
Yeah. I mean, not even like correcting things that just went wrong.
No, you got to start moving
watch
ahead.
Chargers now, right, or whatever. I think that's a big deal. As for the Jets, I'd be pretty happy with where I'm at. This Reddick stuff is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you trade for a guy who's not happy with his contract and think now he's happy with the exact same contract.
In New York.
In New York, right. Like,
it's more expensive to live here, but he'll be okay.
Right.
Because
I don't know if
now.
The agent and the team thought they had a deal and it fell through or what. But
I don't think they had any talks at all before that.
It doesn't seem like it. Right. How do you make that trade? So he might get traded twice in a month and a half or something
and play
never once. Right.
Like, what are you going to get for him at this point?
Less than you gave up.
Right.
Definitely less than you gave up. Because they're like, well, that's the going rate. I'm not going to give more.
Because I'm going to have to pay him.
I got to pay him now too.
Yeah, because if
maybe he's hard to deal with. I don't know.
That's the thing for a team trading for him. Going in, well, he's not going to play if he doesn't get a new contract.
Well, the Jets should have known
he's
that
shown
too.
That, yeah.
Right. I mean, he did it with the Eagles, and that's weird on the Jets. The Jets screwed that up. I don't feel bad for them at all. For them, they also lose Johnson, the first-round pick from 2 years ago, who I think has a chance to be a really good player. I mean, his flashes in the league have been really, really good. However, what I didn't see coming was McDonald, last year's first-round pick. He has 5 sacks in 2 games.
Yeah.
I mean, like, where did he come from? I mean, he's a first-round pick. I mean, he's a talented dude, but he's a pure speedball off the edge.
Yeah, the Steelers liked him
I bet.
last year.
I bet.
Yeah.
I like his style of play. I mean, he'd be an edge guy here, of course. But as for the Jets, I look at them and think I could definitely see them in the playoffs, although – Morgan Moses got hurt. How long's Tyron Smith going to be himself? Is Rodgers going to look like that in November at his age? I don't know, but he was impressive.
Yeah. It's a very precarious situation for New York. They're kind of straddling the line of, hey, we're a contender now, but, we got to.
Yeah, they're a fragile group.
Yeah.
But Hall and Wilson, and they got Williams a little bit involved, and Conklin had a bunch of targets. That's a good enough group for me if the O-line is what we think it can be and Rodgers plays like that. I mean, he's in command and I remember that guy.
Yeah. Does the way this game played out make you think less of the Bengals for losing to this Patriots team in week 1?
A little. I mean, that's different than Seattle having to go all the way to New England and taking it to overtime. I don't know what to think of the Bengals.
The Patriots got pushed around, or the Bengals got pushed around in that game.
I would say they were the less physical team.
Yeah.
Worse pad level. And I blame Taylor for this. I mean, every year, the first couple games, the Bengals get pushed around and aren't as in good a shape and aren't as football ready, and they don't seem to learn from it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably win this week. We'll get to our game picks later in the show.
Looks like they'll get Higgins back.
Yeah, they're playing Washington this week. But we said that when they were playing the Patriots in week 1, and lo and behold, I don't know if I will pick the Bengals in the first 2 weeks of the season ever again.
Unless they start playing Burrow.
Unless they do something different.
Yeah, at least they change it up a little bit. Or, I mean, that might be a theme for all teams, but especially this one, because whatever they're doing isn't working.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's not the right recipe.
It's not the right recipe. You can scratch it, go back to the store, and try again. So that part doesn't make a lot of sense for me for that organization. But I like where the Jets are at today.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're one of the best 7 teams in the AFC.
Yeah, and that's, as we talked about earlier in the week, that group is a lot thinner than what we thought it was when the season started.
Yeah, like are the Jags in that conversation, or
so.
Indy in that conversation?
I don't think so.
Miami.
No,
Cleveland.
not without Tua. Although there was a report today that Tua made the trip with the team to Seattle. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, he's on IR, but that's odd. Okay. But, I mean, those teams I just mentioned.
Will he be in uniform? Will people rip him?
They yell at him for it, yeah. Or if he puts a helmet on to listen in. But, no, like the Jags, Colts, Browns, probably, and Dolphins, I thought were all close to or on the same tier as the Steelers.
Yeah.
And now I look at all 4 of those teams and think, I don't know if they're playoff teams.
Yeah, the Steelers are better.
The Steelers are better than all 4 of those teams to me. I'm not sure I'm ready to put the Browns quite there, because Watson being bad isn't a shock to me. We knew that 3 weeks ago.
Really bad. Like,
right.
You thought maybe he gets to be, mid-level quarterback again, and he's not been that.
Right. Like maybe this is his best year as a Brown. It doesn't look that way.
No, it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
No.
And they can't run the football.
They can't run the football, and they've had the tackle injuries and things like that. And, the offense, I don't know what they hang their hat on. Njoku's out. I mean, he was important to them late last year.
Yeah.
So defense has to do everything.
Yeah, that's why this game against the Chargers this week for the Steelers is going to be telling.
It'd be nice to put the Chargers in that bin.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, they had 2 fluky wins against – I heard somebody describing the Raiders' run game and said, as bad as the Panthers are, the Raiders' run game might be the worst thing in the NFL right now. And that's came to fruition in week 1.
Yeah.
And then you played the worst team in the league by 1 million.
Yeah.
If the Steelers handle them with or without Herbert, and then you look at the Chargers a month from now and they're 2-3 or 3-6 or whatever down the road, and you're like, they weren't really in the mix either. Like we thought in the preseason, we didn't think they were in the really a contender type mix.
No, and that'll be interesting. Just from. Do people start believing nationally in this Steelers team if that happens?
Right. 3-0 goes a long way.
Yeah, kind of the way we finished yesterday's show, I should say. Of the unbeatens, who do you believe in and who don't you believe in?
I would think the winner of this game people will believe in, right or wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just because you've beaten another 2-0 team, but it's still 2-0.
Still 2-0, yeah. I don't know. I still expect the Chargers to be a 7-8 win team, something like that.
Yeah, they get an easy schedule. I mean, now 2 of those games are already behind them.
Right, no, they're in great shape.
You're not going to have an easier game than the Carolina Panthers with Young at quarterback.
Right. No, I think the narrative on the Chargers will be like, oh, they came, it's a decent first Harbaugh year. They still need a lot. They started hot, but they were a bit of a fugazi. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we'll see.
But, I mean, they could win Sunday. I'm not saying they stink.
But the Patriots now 1-2, the Jets now 2-1, so they've kind of righted the ship from that week 1.
Yeah, they're in a pretty decent spot right now.
Although they've now beaten the Titans and the Patriots.
Exactly. Some of these things, when these small sample size, we can do more than just the Chargers and be like, they really weren't as good as we thought.
Yeah.
Again, like I don't think the Lions are bad, but their win against the Rams doesn't look nearly as good now as it does then.
Yeah.
Steelers win against the Falcons looks better than it did at the time, So we'll get more and more information.
Let me see the Jets play the Bills and go toe-to-toe with them or something like that.
Right. Like I want to see the Saints play the Eagles this week. You know, and if they put 45 on them, I'd be like, wow. I mean, this offense is one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, it's different doing it to Carolina.
Absolutely. He is. Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. That's going to do it for hour number 1. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And welcome back to hour number 2 of The Drive here on Steelers Audio Network. And it is Friday. That means, Matt, you got to pick our
all right.
Our winning lineup on DraftKings.
Set the tone.
We do the classic mode here. And start with the defense, Matt, as we always do.
There was a bunch we liked.
Yeah. We'll
Start with the cheapest.
We'll start from the cheapest.
Yeah.
The Rams are $2,300. No. Cardinals are $2,300. No. Panthers are $2,400. No. The Vikings are $2,400 against Houston, but I don't like the matchup.
I don't either, but I'll probably take Houston to win the game, but that's a pretty good defense for that cheap.
The Dolphins in Seattle are $2,500.
No.
Denver at Tampa Bay is $2,500.
I don't like that one either.
Saints at home against Philadelphia are $2,600. Chicago at Indianapolis is $2,600. That's
not bad.
Iffy.
Yeah.
Tennessee at home against Green Bay is $2,700. That's not horrible.
It's not horrible. It's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah, that's what you're hoping for if you go that route. Philadelphia
that might be my favorite one so far.
Yeah. Philadelphia at New Orleans is $2,800. Detroit at Arizona is $2,900. Houston at Minnesota is $3,000.
Okay.
Tampa Bay against Denver is $3,000.
It's not bad either. They're
not.
You know what Bowles is going to do to a rookie quarterback? They're going to blitz him like crazy,
yeah.
Which could be strip sacks and tip balls and sacks galore.
Yeah.
That one in Tennessee are the ones.
I think McGlinchey is out.
I think he is too.
Yeah. Baltimore is at Dallas. That is $3,100. The Giants at Cleveland is $3,200. Indianapolis against Chicago is $3,200. Green Bay against Tennessee is $3,300. A little Will Levis action there. The Steelers against the Chargers is $3,300.
Chargers are more expensive than the Steelers.
It's crazy.
That doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense whatsoever, especially
in this building.
If Easton Stick is playing.
Wow, that too.
That might be a bit of a bargain. Dallas against Baltimore is $3,400. Seattle against Miami is $3,500. That's a nice one too.
Yeah.
San Francisco against the Rams is $3,500. The Chargers against the Steelers is $3,600.
I would take the Steelers over that one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Vegas against Carolina is $3,700. And Cleveland against the Giants is $3,800.
Yeah, I can see them being number one.
Yeah.
To keep it sort of cheap, I like Tennessee and Tampa.
I like Tampa. Tampa's the midpoint between the Titans, Steelers, and Buccaneers. The Steelers were $3,300. The Buccaneers were $3,000, and the
$2,700
and $2,700. So let's pick that midpoint. If we need to save some money, we can go back to the Titans.
Or if we have extra, we'll go get the Steelers.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if it's not Herbert, then that's a bargain.
I don't know how they get to 10.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson is $7,500. Jalen Hurts is $7,300. Stroud is $7,100. Murray is $6,900. Anthony Richardson is $6,700. Dak Prescott, $6,600. Goff is $6,500. That's against that Arizona defense.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of points in that game.
Mayfield is $6,300. Jordan Love is $6,200. I don't know if he plays.
I don't think he will.
Brock Purdy is $6,000. Derek Carr is $5,800. Stafford is $5,700. Herbert is $5,700. Caleb Williams, $5,600. Geno Smith is $5,600.
Ooh, that's not bad.
Not bad at all. Deshaun Watson is $5,500. Darnold is $5,500. Justin Fields is $5,400.
I like Geno.
I think he might run a little bit this week.
Oh, I do too.
Gardner Minshew against Carolina is $5,300. They can't run the football.
They can't run the ball at all.
They might try to establish it this week. We'll see. Daniel Jones is $5,300. Will Levis is $5,200. Easton Stick is $5,200. Skyler
Along those lines, I just got a blurb on my phone saying Herbert's officially questionable.
Okay.
So
there you go.
We'll see.
Skylar Thompson's $5,100. Bo Nix $5,100. Malik Willis is $5,000.
Yeah, he only throws the ball like 15 times.
He ran for 42 yards. Though,
yeah.
It's his old team.
I mean, if you're going to go super cheap.
Yeah. I kind of like Geno. I'm with
Geno's
you.
one I think stands out by far.
That one stands out, yeah. Although, how much are they going to have to score against Skylar Thompson?
They probably won't, but he doesn't run much, but I still think they light him up.
Yeah. I'm just looking
I don't think he's a super high ceiling.
I'm looking for a quarterback who's going to be maybe in a bit of a game that might have to go back and forth.
Kyler and Goff come to mind.
Yeah.
I think that has shootout written all over
How about
it.
Carr at 5,800 against Philadelphia? Their pass defense is not good.
I don't have a problem with it. He just doesn't run.
The Eagles are going to score.
Oh, I think the Eagles score, yeah. I'm fine with it.
Or again, Stafford is 5,700. They're not.
I don't like his weapons, though.
Carr's only $200 more than Geno Smith.
Okay. I could do Carr in that situation. Trust that offense
He's
going to
have to throw more than 18 passes this week.
Oh, yeah.
And the weapons are pretty good.
Well, the weapons are real good.
Let's move on to tight end. We're still pretty cheap there. So
Yeah,
we've only spent
heavy.
8,800. Let's see here. Trey McBride is 6,200. Laporta is 6,000. You want a piece of that game, you got to pay for those guys.
Laporta's not being used close to how he was.
Kittle is 5,700. He's questionable.
Yeah, I say he's banged up too, though.
Brock Bowers, 5,400.
Against a terrible team.
Yeah, just awful.
He's going to get a lot of targets.
Mark Andrews is 4,800. Isaiah Likely, 4,700. Goddard is 4,600. Jake Ferguson is 4,500.
Real quick, what are the Saints against tight ends? It's not even worth looking at because it's only 2 games, but I'm just wondering. I'm sure they're not good.
11th.
For Goddard. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't get enough passes to.
I know, but A.J. Brown's out.
Dalton Schultz is 4,300. Jake Ferguson, 4,500. I think I missed that one.
Mm-hmm.
Freiermuth is 4,000.
You can see him having a decent game.
They're 24th thus far against opposing tight ends. They've given up a lot of catches. Komet is 3,900. Chig is 3,700. Colby Parkinson is 3,600. Kind of the last man standing, but
Yeah.
I don't like it against that San Francisco defense.
It's not going to have a high upside
No.
at all.
No. Johnny Smith is 3,400, but I don't trust Skylar Thompson.
No. One stands out to me. Like, all those names haven't really produced like you expected in the fantasy world. A couple of them are questionable. Kittle, guys like that. The name I trusted the most is the rookie.
Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
They just throw him the ball.
They just throw him the ball.
And as we said, they can't run it.
They can't run it. Minshew will get them the football. They're playing the worst team on the planet. I think that's my pick.
Maybe Andy Dalton throws a touchdown pass or something.
Yeah, right.
Just
Maybe.
to keep them interested.
Keeps them interested in it, and they don't just run the clock out in the end.
I don't have a
I
problem
don't think
with
the
it.
Raiders are a powerhouse.
No, I don't think so either.
They're featuring them like crazy. Their running game's horrendous. It's amazing that the rookie's the guy I trust the most.
At running back, Saquon Barkley is 7,700. Kamara is 7,500. Jonathan Taylor, 7,300. Kyron Williams, 7,100. Achan is 7,000. Joe Mixon is 6,900. I don't think he plays. Jahmyr Gibbs is 6,800.
Ooh, I think they get back to using their running backs.
Josh Jacobs is 6,700.
Not bad. He's going to get a ton of touches.
Connor is 6,600.
Okay.
Derrick Henry, 6,500. That Dallas run defense is bad.
It is. I just wish they dedicated themselves to Henry a little bit more.
J.K. Dobbins is 6,400.
It's not bad.
Kenneth Walker, 6,300. I don't love it against the Steelers defense, though. Yeah,
I don't either, but Dobbins has far exceeded that in two games.
Jordan Mason is 6,200.
Oh, I like that a lot.
David Montgomery, 6,100.
Not bad. I wouldn't mind getting some of that Detroit backfield.
Yeah. Rashad White, 6,100. Charbonnet is 6,000.
I don't know what Walker's status is.
Tony Pollard is 6,000.
He's only showing. The only show going right now.
Yeah, that's it. That's not bad. Aaron Jones, 5,900. Jerome Ford is 5,800. Mostert is 5,700. Devin Singletary, 5,700. DeAndre Swift is 5,600 against that Indianapolis defense without Buckner.
Yes, except I trust him less than any back out there.
I hear you.
I'm talking about trust.
Najee Harris, 5,600. Zamir White, 5,500. Just a week they get that on track against Carolina.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott, 5,500. Javonte Williams, 5,400. Alexander Madison, 5,400. Jalen Warren, 5,300. Ty Chandler, 5,300. Chuba Hubbard, 5,200.
He's kind of the guy.
He's the guy at 5,200.
I mean, that's pretty cheap.
That's pretty. Yeah, that's interesting. Gus Edwards is 5,000. Justice Hill, who just got a new contract today, he is
did he?
4,900. You
Okay.
think
I mean,
Dallas
he's a
scores?
true two.
Dallas scores enough to? Yeah, he's the third down back.
Third
too.
down back in the handcuff. I was hoping someone in this neighborhood would jump out more.
Yeah. Rico Dowdell is 4,800. Cam Akers 4,700.
That one jumps.
That jumps out.
Yes.
I think plug that in.
Yes.
And if we get news that he is not playing,
Sure.
we can switch that out to something else. Although at 4,700, I don't know what.
Yeah, we're not gonna get a whole lot back.
Yeah,
but you're right.
Maybe we'll go to.
I bet he's pretty chalky too.
Yeah, maybe we go to Hill or something like that if that's the situation. But that gives us a good amount of money to spend elsewhere.
I was interested in Gibbs and Montgomery. There was also someone right in that neighborhood. Oh, Niners, Mason.
Yeah, Mason is. Where's he at? He's a little bit cheap, 6,200. Gibbs is 6,800. And who else did you say? Montgomery is 6,100.
You have any preference on those guys?
Montgomery's a touchdown scorer.
I just think that Campbell is going to be like, this has been cute and all, but we're going to run the ball behind Ragnow and Sewell.
Yeah,
we just lost, right. And that might be more Montgomery. I mean, we're going to be the most physical team out here.
We're going to pound it, yeah.
Arizona's,
and we don't want their offense on the field throwing the ball over the place.
Yeah, Arizona's D-line's bad.
Yeah.
And that's either one of those guys.
So is the Rams, though.
I know. I think they're going to beat them by 100.
Well, let's plug one of those two in, and if we have enough money for the flex, maybe plug the other one in.
Yeah, let's not forget about them.
So let's go with the cheaper option right now. That's Montgomery at 6,100. It's only $100. So if we have money left over, if we want to go cheaper, we can do that with the defense too.
True. Well, if you don't put Mason in as a flex now, and we can also yank him if there's receivers we love.
Well, we always wait and do the flex with what we have left over. The receivers, we can usually.
There's a lot.
Yeah. CeeDee Lamb is 8,800. Justin Jefferson is 8,600.
Sounds like he's going to play.
He's been cleared. He doesn't even have an injury designation.
Oh, okay.
Tyreek Hill, 8,400. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8,200. Devontae Adams, 7,600. Marvin Harrison, 7,400. Nico Collins, 7,300. Mike Evans, 7,200. Devonta Smith, 6,900. I don't have anybody else. Zay Flowers, 6,800. DJ Moore, 6,700. Stephon Diggs, 6,600. There's one guy that's not been mentioned yet, and I know you're going to like it. Chris Godwin, 6,500.
That one I like because I think Surtain's on Evans.
Yeah. I just don't know how much they're going to have to throw.
Probably not a ton in the second half.
Malik Neighbors is 6,400. Chris Olave, 6,300.
Sleeping giant there.
We got Carr in the lineup.
I have no problem at all with
Olave,
London, a couple of these guys. Pickens.
That's right on our budget too.
Really?
It's 6,300. I want to see what Pickens costs too.
Absolutely.
Because,
I think he's going to have a really big game.
DK Metcalf is 6,300. Brandon Ayuk is 6,200.
I like that too.
There's nobody else.
And he's got 2 games to get his feet under him from not playing a lot, and his numbers are always tremendous when Debo's out.
Pittman is 6,100.
No.
Amari Cooper, 6,100. Jalen Waddle, 6,000. Calvin Ridley is 6,000.
Pickens has to be in the lineup if he's cheaper than
Pickens
these
is
guys.
5,700. We got to put that in. He's
Yes,
got to be in
yes.
the lineup.
Yeah.
Got to be.
Has to be.
Now we got 2 spots left. We have $13,000 to spend.
Okay.
Now if you want to put Mason in the flex,
Can we afford Ayuk?
We can do that. That leaves us 6,800. I guarantee we can afford Ayuk and have money left
maybe
over.
Bump up to the Steeler D or
Yeah. Where's Ayuk
quarterback or something
Ayuk
like
was at, where's he at here? He was cheaper. He was 6,200. That leaves us $600 left to spend. Was there anything else we wanted to spend up at? Other than defense?
I would say, what about quarterback? The defense is only $300.
Yeah, 6,400 at quarterback would get us Baker Mayfield.
Who do we have now again?
We had Carr in there.
I don't think there's much difference there.
I don't think so either. It would get us Purdy. I don't love that. And that's all that would get us. Now, if we changed out the defenses and went with Tennessee,
yeah,
that might change things. So if we go down and pay down for the Titans and then make the change at QB, that leaves us with, that would get us Anthony Richardson or Dak Prescott, Jared Goff.
You know I love Richardson for fantasy.
Yeah.
He has 5 designed runs this year. That's coaching malpractice. And what are you doing? I mean, it doesn't mean he's only ran the ball 5 times, but he has 5 designed runs in 2 weeks. I mean,
and he's completing less than 50% of his passes.
You're not doing what he does well.
So we put Carr back in and pay up at defense?
Yeah.
So that leaves
we
us
still have some spare change.
That leaves us $3,600 there. That would get us the Chargers, the 49ers, Seahawks against Miami, Cowboys.
Get you Steelers?
Steelers would be $3,300. We'd still have a little bit left over.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Do we like Seattle better than the Steelers?
Seattle at home against Miami. It could be a bloodbath.
Oh, I think they're going to win by 20.
Yeah.
That O-line's bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That leaves us 100 left over, but I'm good with that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think the spread in that game's only like 4.
It's unbelievable.
It shocks me.
Unbelievable.
I think they're going to win by double digits.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Derek Carr at quarterback, Cam Akers at running back, David Montgomery at running back. We could have paid up there, maybe.
I was saying maybe
we could have gotten Gibbs instead.
And Gibbs and Titans as opposed to Montgomery and Seahawks.
Or we could have got Gibbs and Steelers, I think, maybe.
Let's fiddle with it.
All right. Let's take a look
Pull
at
Montgomery out, put Gibbs in.
Let me see here. Seahawks, and take them out, take that out. Running back, Gibbs. So that leaves us 9,700. Gibbs is 6,800. That leaves us 2,900 to spend on defense, which would get us the Titans.
I like that better.
That would get us the Lions, Eagles, and Titans, but that leaves us with $200 left over.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's going to catch more passes.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so that's Derek Carr at quarterback, Cam Akers at running back, Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, Chris Olave, George Pickens, and Brandon Ayuk at wide receiver. That's a nice group.
Buy low trio.
Yeah. Brock Bowers at tight end with Jordan Mason in the flex, and the Titans defense at 2,700 working against Malik Willis.
Yeah, and the Titans D has been good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not been the
Their
problem
offense
at all.
has been the issue.
It's been horrendous.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this on another podcast this morning. Like, you just paid all this money for Snead. Like, I might put 10 in the box and just play cover 0. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not letting you guys run on me like you did the Colts, no matter what.
You're going to have to complete passes, and we know because you've been here for the last 2 years that you can't.
Then you can't. And I know how to get in your head. Tennessee D was vastly underpriced to me in this.
Yeah.
Especially with the knowledge of the quarterback.
I'm going to lock it in.
Okay.
We are locked and loaded. So that's going to do it for the Fantasy Football Focus, Matt. That's our winning lineup. Again, Derek Carr, Cam Akers, Jahmyr Gibbs, Brandon Ayuk, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Brock Bowers, Jordan Mason, and the Titans defense.
Works for me.
Absolutely. Looks like a winner. We'll see you on Monday if that proves to be the case. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to preview all this week's games right after this. And welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And, of course, this is The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network, which you can listen to Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. And also you can follow along on YouTube on the show with the show. That comes out around...
Been very popular.
What time is it around, Tyler? Around 8 o'clock every day? Give or take. Around 8 o'clock, the new show shows up on YouTube.
A lot of good responses
Tyler
there.
Vittmeyer, who gets that out for us on YouTube there. We appreciate that. And you can also download the Steelers mobile app and get it on there as well.
There you
So
go.
lots of different places to listen to the show. Of course, you can also follow anywhere you get your podcasts. We're available.
Yep.
Spotify, Apple.
Follow us on Twitter. We retweet this stuff and put all that stuff out too. You know,
Absolutely. Right? Give us a follow on Twitter. We like that. Or the X-Twitter, as I like to call it.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, let's take a look at this week's games, Matt. Leading off, the team that we just picked defensively to lead off our fantasy football, daily fantasy football team, the Titans at 0-2, hosting the 1-1 Packers. Tennessee favored by 2. The over-under is 37.5. I like seeing that.
I love the under. I love the under in this game. I think they're both going to shorten it like crazy. I don't think you're going to see Love. You got to hide Levis. I think I'll take the home team and lay the points, but that I don't feel strong about that.
Levis
part.
scares me.
Yeah,
maybe, just maybe, at 0-2, could we see Mason Rudolph this week?
If he does something remarkably dumb early in the game, then maybe.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're throwing,
They can't afford to go to 0-3.
No. 0-3 is scary for any of these teams, the Ravens and the Bengals, et cetera. I'm going with Green Bay if you're going to give me points. If points.
It's only 2, though.
I know, but
Two's
I just
tough.
think the coaching advantage greatly favors Green Bay.
I agree with that. I just don't know that they stole one last week.
Mm-hmm.
Against,
House money, like you said the other day.
Yeah. I don't know if they can steal another one. Now that you've shown Tennessee how you're going to try to win with Malik Willis, I don't know that you can replicate that again.
My logic between, if I would stay away from the line. I like the under a lot, but if you believe the under is going to hit, and you're going to give, I'll take points, especially for a better coach.
If it were more than 2, I'd be with you. If it were 3, even.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't love for my purposes here Tennessee's knowledge of Willis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's a new staff.
If you're looking at a teaser there, and I can add 6 onto that, okay.
Over 3 would be real nice.
Yeah, anything over 3 is good.
Right?
Yeah. The Colts at 0-2 are kind of in a similar situation to the Titans. Like, they can't afford to go to 0-3. They host the Bears, who are 1-1. Indianapolis favored by 1.5. The over/under 43.5.
I like the Bears in this game. Bears low line has been a real problem. Caleb hasn't played well, but their defense is solid and they have weapons. And I think Allen will be back, they have enough weaponry. I just really dislike where the Colts are defensively.
Allen won't be back, actually. He's been declared out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I really don't like where the Colts defense is at. And a couple things on Richardson. I mentioned they're not designing runs for him. And part of his accuracy problems, he throws the ball too hard.
Everything's a fastball.
When he hits his target, sometimes he knocks him over. He's got the biggest arm going. Take a little something off it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always think of when people talk about these quarterbacks having big arms. Oftentimes they don't know how to throw a touch.
Right.
I saw it with Joe Milton last year at the Senior Bowl.
100%.
He's throwing the ball 70 yards down the field. He tried to complete a pass that was 6 yards away. Couldn't do it.
Oh, arm talent and arm strength are two different things.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
The 2-0.
taking the Bears. Yeah.
I thought the Steelers and Chargers were the only team, or the only game with 2-0 teams.
It's not true.
It's not true.
I heard that yesterday too. I'm like, Vikings and Texans are playing.
Yeah, the Texans at 2-0 are at the Vikings at 2-0. Maybe people just don't believe that the Vikings are 2-0. Houston, a 2-point favorite. The over/under 46.5.
If Stroud were a normal young quarterback, I would definitely take that building and Flores all day long, but I don't think he is. And I think the Texans D is flying around right now.
They'll turn Darnold over.
Yeah. And Stingley on Jefferson, good enough. He might not win that matchup. A few will, but he can limit him. I like Houston in that game.
Yeah, I do too. At 1-1, the Eagles are at the 2-0 Saints. New Orleans favored by 2.5. The over/under 49.5.
I actually saw it at 3.5 yesterday.
Wow.
And took the Eagles.
Yeah.
Tough place to play, and I get all that. I think Philly's, when we look back at the season, Philly's the better team than the Saints. I understand how well
I think
the
so
Saints
too.
are
Their
playing.
defense is struggling a little bit right now.
They don't have the D line that people think.
No, they
which
don't
worries me a
generate the
little.
pass rush.
Right.
They've got a bunch of big guys.
Jordan Davis doesn't do anything.
They don't rush the passer well.
No. Carter's all right, but the rest of them, Graham's gotten old. Fletcher Cox has moved on. It's not the same D line.
No. But I do think they'll shut down the Saints' running game to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And if the Saints can't run the ball,
I like where the Eagles' offense is at, minus the Brown injury.
yeah. No, I'm with you.
I just think they're the better team if you're to give them points.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Broncos at 0-2 are at the Buccaneers at 2-0. Tampa Bay favored by 6.5. The over/under only 40.5.
I have no problem laying that number. I really don't. I don't think Denver's going to score much on the road. I think Surtain versus Evans is great, but Godwin blows up, and they have other weapons, and Nix looks over his head, and Bowles is really hard to play against.
Yeah,
really
gonna
hard
light
to
them
play
up in their
against.
own building. Yeah,
and I still think heat and weather is an issue this time of year. Tampa's not fun to play at right now.
yeah. I just don't think the Broncos are very talented.
No, they don't have good players.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
The Panthers at 0-2. Speaking of which teams that have no talent, are at the Raiders at 1-1. Vegas favored by 5. The over/under 39.5.
I thought this was going to be like a 10-point spread.
kind of tells you where the Raiders are at. I still like the Raiders.
I do too. I mean, I thought I was going to consider actually betting on the Panthers.
I don't know whether the Panthers win a game this year.
I don't know if they will either. Because I thought it was going to be like 10. They went to Baltimore and won. The Raiders are really good.
You were talking about, that's the only thing that gives me any pause.
Five's not big enough.
Is that the Raiders went to Baltimore and won.
Yeah.
Do they have a letdown now against the Panthers after watching them on film all week and going, okay, we're gonna beat this team. We'll be 2-1. I just don't know that Pierce, as a head coach, will allow that to help him.
I don't trust them either. It's not like they have a great home field advantage or anything either.
Yeah.
I just think 5.
But there won't be many Panthers fans showing
up. No, I'm sure they're not flocking across town all of a sudden either.
Woo, Panthers.
Yeah, right. I'll lay the points, but this is low on my watch list.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to watch that one. Not even Andy Dalton's wife and family.
Yeah.
At 1-1, the Dolphins are at the 2-0 Seahawks. There's a lot of dog games this week. Seattle only giving 4.
We mentioned this earlier in the show. I can't believe that's that low a number.
4.
Seattle's in a good spot.
With Skylar Thompson,
right? Massive
flying across
advantage.
you can't.
That's the farthest
you can't go any farther.
Right. And I don't think the defense or O-line is very good for Miami, and that's the kind of things you need to lean on now against a defensive-minded coach that throws a lot at you. I think Seattle wins big.
In 2 Skylar Thompson starts, Jalen Waddle had 8 catches for 88 yards. Tyreek Hill had 9 for 92. That's
total,
2 games.
Total,
Yeah, 2 games. That's like one game.
Right.
That's one game's worth of work for those guys.
Right.
With a real quarterback.
I just see a lot of horizontal passing to a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what they're
and
doing.
throwing the ball to these guys at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah,
you do have to respect that because you can't press them.
Sure.
But you can tackle the catch.
Yeah, make a big play. You're on
Neither one of these guys are real dynamic. They're not going to run through tackles.
No, you got to get them moving.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So, I just don't know.
That's a brutal place to play.
I don't know how Miami scores a bunch. I don't know how they score.
Seattle fans will be wound up.
Yeah. At 0-2, one of the big games of the week, the 0-2 Ravens at the 1-1 Cowboys. Does Baltimore somehow favored in this game by 1. The over-under 48.5. I'm taking the Cowboys.
I'm taking the Ravens.
I'll take the team
and I
at
don't
home.
feel strong about it. I really worry about Parsons from my stand on this.
That's
bet.
why. That's one of the big
right.
reasons why. Who's blocking him?
Right. I don't like Dallas's run defense, and this one just comes down to, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just can't imagine chatting with you on Monday going, well, the Steelers are 3-0 and the Ravens are 0-3. Like that just seems crazy.
Do you think the Cowboys are going to be 1-2?
I don't think the Ravens will be 0-3. I'm trusting Harbaugh on this one and Lamar.
They are giving up the most.
I'm not betting it.
They're giving up the most passing yards in the league.
Yeah.
Hamilton may not play. Their first-round draft pick isn't going to play. He's got a concussion. I just think that Baltimore's in a bad spot right now. I guarantee you, anytime Rosengarten is in a game,
he's going to be out there a lot.
He's going to be out there a lot. He's getting Micah Parsons.
Oh, yeah. And there's even talk that Rosengarten might become the full-time right tackle and McCarry gets Falele off the field because Falele's been that bad.
Stinks.
I mean, Parsons will dance right around him, too.
Yeah.
So I heard an analyst today talking about the Ravens. I thought they said it really well. They said when Ricard isn't out there, and he's not going to play every snap, of course. He's a 300-pound fullback. They don't have a dirty work guy.
Yeah.
The tight ends are finesse.
Yeah, they're receivers.
Zay is finesse.
Yeah.
They don't have a Hines Ward to block and get you 9 on 3rd and 8. You know what I mean? Like it's not a normal Ravens toughness.
We
type
said that
team
at the
in
draft when they drafted those guys.
The first 2 picks.
These are not typical Ravens picks.
Right.
They're not spitting nails. They're not people.
Right. I don't think the Steelers were like, oh shucks, they took Rosengarten.
Yeah.
Because he was our type of guy. I don't think that's true. Or Wiggins.
Yeah.
Right. But their skill guys are finessey.
Yeah. It's troublesome.
I'm betting on Harbaugh though.
And they can't block it up, and they know it.
Right. Lamar has to be Superman.
And I just the only thing that gives me pause in this is knowing Lamar's record against NFC
That's
teams.
part of it. I meant to mention that too.
But if this game were in Baltimore, I'd be picking the Ravens. I just don't understand how they're giving points on the road.
Yeah.
To what I think is a good football team.
I don't think Dallas will run the ball well, though.
But I think Dallas knows who they are.
And Dak is a stabilizing force.
Yeah.
Lamb will do well.
Yeah.
I mean, Lamb was number 1 on the DFS lineup. I mean, prices.
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch it, though.
No, I'm not going to. No, I would stay away from it.
I want to watch it, but I don't want to put anything on it.
At 1-1, a surprising 1-1, the 49ers are at the 0-2, a surprising 0-2 Rams. San Francisco favored by 7, the over-under 44.5.
There's 5 or 6 that I don't think the numbers add up, which probably means I'm wrong. I mean, I get that. But I think the Niners win this by 100.
Yeah.
I mean, they got embarrassed. How often do they lose 2 in a row? I know they have some injuries, but nothing like the Rams. Other than Stafford, what's the strengths of the Rams right now?
They don't have one.
And then, they have that rock, paper, scissor thing in the NFC West. Well, Niners have crushed Rams.
Yeah.
And, and they usually lose to Seattle. But I think they blow them out.
Yeah.
How they block up Bosa and
if you're really worried about the 7 points, you can always tease that one down to 1.
I saw it at 6.5, actually. So it's at 7.
It's crazy. It's at 7 now, so people are betting it up. I'm with you. I think the 49ers just destroy them.
Stomp them, yeah.
The 1-1 Lions are at the 1-1 Cardinals. Detroit favored by 3. The over-under 51.5, the biggest one of the weekend.
I don't feel strong about it, but I'm going to take the Lions. Yeah. I don't think Arizona's got a great home field advantage.
I think you just play the over in this one.
Yeah, I do think the Lions will run the ball a lot, but I still don't think that'll be a lack of
points.
They
might be really successful running the ball.
They might be really successful at it.
20 yards at a time.
I think the Lions' D is noticeably better than the Cardinals.
Yeah, and I saw it today. Kelvin Beachum added to the Cardinals injury report. He was already starting because their regular right tackle was hurt.
Right.
So now they're under third-string right tackle.
I'm sure Hutchinson will line up on that side over and over now.
That'll be troublesome.
Yep, I didn't know that.
At 2-0, the Sunday night game, the Chiefs are at the 1-1 Falcons. Kansas City giving 3.5, the over-under 46.5. I like the home team.
Do you? I don't like either, but I'm taking the Chiefs. I think Chris Jones will cause problems, and Mahomes was down last week. I can't imagine that picking up.
They don't cover as often as people think.
No, they don't. They absolutely don't. What do you think?
I think they might win the game, but I'll take the 3.5
I don't like
points.
the half at all.
Yeah.
And I do think Atlanta's better than what Steeler fans saw. I'm going to take Kansas City.
Bijan's going to give them problems.
Bijan's going to give them problems. Bijan's really good. How many Chiefs fans are going to be there? Night game.
It'll be a good
I bet
number.
there's a good contingency.
Although I'll say this, I think Atlanta sold out its season tickets this year.
Right.
And they're coming off a big win over the Eagles on Monday night. This might be the game their fans show up for, not sell their tickets. Maybe they sold them to Steelers fans like, hey, look, I got to pay for my season tickets, and I can do that this week. I mean, I want to go out and see Patrick Mahomes play.
There was a lot of optimism in week 1, too. I'm not even picking it because I think there's a lot of Chiefs fans there.
I will say this: it is back-to-back,
not 3.5,
back-to-back night games for Cousins, who traditionally doesn't perform well.
Great at those.
Yeah.
I'm going with Kansas City. I worry that Kelsey's hitting the road. Yeah.
He's going to have his hands full this week. I mean, they got 2 good safeties.
Yep, absolutely.
So, the other thing that kind of has me picking the Falcons, Suamataia. Is a problem.
Yep.
Both of their tackles are a problem.
Absolutely. They no doubt are.
Yeah, the Falcons can now rush the passer a little bit.
I'm sure that they're going to come out trying to run the ball, but they don't have Pacheco either.
Yeah.
They're going to have a backup ball carrier. Right.
So some injury issues there. At 0-2, the last game of the week. Actually, there's two Monday night games.
Nighters, yeah.
The 0-2 Jaguars are at the 2-0 Bills. Buffalo favored by only 5, and the over/under 45.5.
So we had a conversation on my podcast earlier that I could see starting to get questions Monday or Tuesday. Is Jacksonville going to be the first team to fire their coach? Like, doesn't it sort of smell like that? Like they're not living up to expectations. You go to Buffalo and lose by 20, and it's like, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah.
Do I trust that group to get it right and fix problems?
You trust that ownership not to make that move?
Right. It just kind of has that smell about it. I'm going to take the Bills.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bills as well. And the final game of the weekend, the 1-1 Commanders. Thank God there are 2 Monday night games this week because they're at the 0-2 Bengals. Cincinnati favored by 7.5. The over/under 47.5. I still like the Bengals.
I do too. I think getting Hendricks in blocks is going to be a problem. that defense coordinator can throw a lot at a young quarterback, although I think Daniels is playing pretty well. Higgins is coming back. Washington's defense is just really
atrocious.
Bad. Burrow doesn't even have to be his sharpest to rip them up. I think Chase blows up.
I think Moss has a good game this week.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I wish there wasn't that half there, but for an 0-2 team, but I think Cincy gets it right.
Yeah, since he's at home, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's Monday Night Football. Burrow is 4-0 outright and 3-1 against the spread on Monday nights. Yes.
Really?
So I think they kind of play. He likes that big stage.
Yeah.
So I think they blow him out.
I do too.
Yeah. That's this week's slate of games, Matt.
Cool.
So a couple of good games in there and some real dogs.
There are. And there were 5 or 6 where I think the spread's wrong, which, if I get 4
early
of
in the
those
season,
6,
Vegas
right.
is still trying to figure some stuff out.
Miami doesn't make sense to me. There's a couple of them that don't make sense
Yeah.
to me.
We'll see how much, we'll talk about this game next, the Steelers game, how much that moves if it ends up Justin Herbert is not playing.
I wonder if it moves even now with him just being flat out questionable.
Potentially.
Everyone knows now.
Yeah, potentially. But we'll talk about that game and give our picks on it when we return. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, it is time, after all the talking that we've done this week, it is time for us to pick what we think is going to happen in this week's Steelers game. Chargers at 2-0 at the Steelers 2-0. When this came out, the Steelers favored by 1.5. I just looked; it is now 3. So the line has moved in terms of what Vegas thinks is going to happen with Justin Herbert. The over/under is 35.5.
Wow,
it's a low. That's about as low as you'll see. I've seen some 33s and things of that nature in the past.
Yeah. We're used to low over.
This is good weather game though.
Good weather game.
Those games
right.
are like, oh, there's going to be a snowstorm hitting or
I wonder if that's
hurricane
dropping too. I haven't paid attention to the over under.
I bet that goes down.
I bet it did or already had or will. Right. Let
Go
me go first.
It is now. It's still 35.5. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When I thought Herbert was definitely going to play, I had the Steelers winning this 16-13, and the spread was 1.5 at that point. You're smiling like you had the same score.
I had the same exact score.
Did you really?
Which happened to us a couple of years ago. For you regular listeners, this one.
This is bizarre.
We went like 7 straight weeks with the exact same score picked.
We had to even after a while, we were writing them down and be like, I'm not lying. Look, this is what I had. All right. Before we said it. So no, I'm going to stick with that. I mean, for things that I actually have to write a prediction for, I took 16-13 Steelers. I'll feel better about it if Herbert's obviously not involved. I don't see a lot of points. I think the Steelers' defense is just by far the best group out there. I think the Steelers will run on the interior in particular quite well. I think Justin Fields might make a big play or two more than he has. And I think Pickens goes bonkers. I mean, I don't know what kind of answer they have for Pickens. And their corners aren't even bad.
No, they're just tiny.
Yeah,
that's
right.
the thing that stands out to me about this Chargers team is that they don't have. We've seen in the last few years all these big corners coming into the league to combat the bigger wide receivers that are out there, the more athletic wide receivers, and they don't have any of those guys.
No, they don't.
They're all smaller, 5'10", 5'11" cornerbacks that, while good, I don't know that they can. Pickens is just going to box those guys out or out jump them for the football.
I think they'll do fine.
Even Van Jefferson is a bigger receiver.
I think they'll do fine against the other Steeler receivers.
Yeah.
But not that guy. The way he's been looking on tape and in person, I think they're going to design a lot for him. When they throw, it's going to go his way. I also don't love their middle of the field coverage for Freiermuth, who I think will be the second leading receiver.
Yeah.
And those tackles are really good, but even if that's a wash against Watt and Highsmith.
It's still,
what are you doing with Cam?
It's either a quarterback who is injured, or it's a quarterback who is very inexperienced,
or subpar,
and you got that pass rush in that building,
right? With
Renegade playing and the terrible towels swirling and the opening day crowd. It's a big ask.
And Quentin Johnston's been important to them by default. I don't know if he does anything if Porter locks him down, you know. So penalties could obviously be a problem.
Turnovers,
100%. I mean, I don't know that maybe Fields turns into a pumpkin and takes a bunch of sacks and turns the ball over a bunch, and the Steelers have taken a lot of penalties. That keeps up, and they lose. And they can't stop the run, and Dobbins is running free left and right. That could happen. I don't feel super certain about it, but the more Herbert news comes out, the better I like the Steelers will be 3-0.
Does it bother you if Troy Fautanu can't go in this game?
Yes, absolutely, because their edge guys are really good, and it'll be a test for him either way.
Yeah.
But I thought he played really well in week 1.
See, I think with Broderick Jones, he might be just a little bit ticked off at how he played last week.
I would hope, right. A little embarrassed.
A little embarrassed.
Yeah,
and comes out and says, hey, that's not me. I think he comes out and has a good game. Because
Wouldn't shock me.
He's got the talent.
Yes.
If that got him refocused a little bit, going out and putting out, if giving up the sacks in the preseason didn't get him refocused, maybe getting benched, and then when you got the opportunity to go in there and play, and playing like that, might just have done that.
I mean, who knows? I mean, the glass half full of this whole situation is it might be exactly what Jones needs.
Yeah.
And he shuts down Bosa and Mack, and you're like, that's why.
I just don't know how much the Steelers are going to have to throw. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, are Bosa and Mack going to be that big of a factor if you're only throwing the ball 20 times? And I think if it is a compromised Justin Herbert or Easton Stick, or if they decide to go with Taylor Heineke, the Steelers can play the same way that they have been playing.
Yeah.
And the Chargers want to play that way anyways.
Yep. I mean, again,
I just think the Steelers are better at it. They've been doing it longer.
Did it against better teams.
Yeah.
And I think they've fewer holes on the roster.
They know how they want to play, and they've been playing that way for more than a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they will run the football. They've got, just the better.
And if you go from a pretty major quarterback disadvantage to a quarterback advantage, that's one thing I wasn't counting on, for this. We had thrown out earlier in the week about 6 offensive line sets. Does that get scrapped if Fautanu can't play?
I think you can still do some of that if you really, really. I mean, you obviously, if you, with this injury happening on a Friday, if you were going to do that stuff, if that was in their game plan, maybe you just use a different offensive lineman to do it with. Because you're not going to have all your tight ends that you typically have. You don't have Mike Holbrook for this game. He's been one of your better blockers out there. You've used him a lot in those 12 packages.
So would that be McCormick? Is he your next best player?
He's probably your next best guy up. You're not going to put him out on the end, I wouldn't think.
No, maybe you make him the tackle and everyone bumps one.
You know what I mean? If it's Broderick Jones, you bump him out and let him be out on the edge.
You don't want him edge protecting against Bosa and Mack, with your outside hand and that kind of stuff.
But again, if you force those guys out wider, if he's got Washington outside of him, he's still not on the he's still not the end.
It's just a different version of 13 personnel or whatever. With a bigger body.
Because both
I prefer
teams
it with Jones as a 6 guy, of course.
Yeah.
I always want it to be a 6'6" tackle type.
But he is a good run blocker.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have a problem with it. It's not like you're going to throw out of that package.
I'm sure both coaches are preaching all week. The most physical team is going to win this
without
game.
a doubt.
I mean, that's just how those coaches are wired. Right?
I think Landon Roberts has a big game.
I could see that too.
I think he's very impactful in this.
Yeah. And if they're backup quarterbacks, I could see some turnovers too.
Yeah.
Without question. We'll see. I think it's going to be a good game. The Herbert situation's looming huge right now.
Huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's massive. In fact, I was with you 16-13. If he doesn't play, I might go Steelers 20-10.
I was leaning something like that too, because I could see a better defensive or better field position, an extra turnover, something like that. Again, I still think Harbaugh does something wacky, but maybe he does 2 things wacky and it ends up being backwards. You know what I mean? And the terrible towels are waving and they're teeing off on Easton Stick with 4 minutes left.
One thing to keep an eye on, Matt, in this game, the Chargers have had 4 kick returns against them this year.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Even last week against Carolina. Now, Carolina didn't run them back, but Dicker, the kicker, a couple of his kicks only made it a couple of yards into the end zone.
Yeah.
If he kicks one of those to Cordero Patterson,
he's going to try it.
He's going to bring it out.
Yeah.
And
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
I hope he gets 2 or 3 return attempts. Would be great.
Yeah. I mean, even if he gets 1, that guy can change a game in a heartbeat. And that's why teams aren't kicking to him right now.
And special teams favors the Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, across across the board. And which kicker do you trust more to bang that 50-yarder to win it?
It ain't Dicker the kicker.
It ain't Dicker the kicker, not against Boz. So 3-0 would be really something.
It would be something, and then you'd be heading to Indianapolis to play a scuffling football team.
I don't like where they're at right now, the Colts, but we'll dig into them.
Got to get this one first.
Yeah.
If
it's
they
not
get
going to
this
be
one,
easy.
No,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Harbaugh coach team.
It's going to be a bare knuckle fight.
Yeah, 100%.
So it'll be fun. I'll enjoy watching it, and we'll be talking about it on Monday. Of course, you can hear Matt and I both on the. I'll be on the pregame show, the full 2 hours. You get the week off this week, but you can also hear Matt and I on the regular pregame show. We do back-to-back hits with Mike Pursuta and Jerry Dulac and Bob Labriola. Missy's on there and everybody.
She's on right before me.
Yeah, so you get to hear us on there previewing this game as well. But that's going to do it for our show today and for the week. So for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, keeping us on the air, for Tyler, who keeps us looking good on the video here, Tyler Vittmeyer, I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.